Lovers Quarrel. It's a long, sustained quarrel.
What's going on, world?
Hey, everybody.
It's your guy, TJ, Mr. New Cool.
And it's your girl, Dani. You're a loquacious leaping lizard.
Loquacious?
Yes.
What does loquacious mean?
Means very talkative, verbose. And then I did leaping lizards because, well, you know what movie that's from?
No.
It's from Annie. But
we're
recording on February 29th for
leap year.
So today is leap day because it's a leap year.
I see what you did there.
Thank you.
You're so smart.
Anyway, well, folks, welcome to another episode of Lovers Quarrel. Of course, as always, if this is your first time listening, welcome. If this is your second time listening, welcome back. And if this is your third or more time listening, we consider you family at this point.
You're a lover to me. Shout out to all my lovers out there.
Yes.
I see you.
Oh, my God. So, with that being said, do you want to go ahead and just jump right into our...
We're at Trinity Media.
Yes, we
episode.
are.
Very special. So
that's why the decor is beautiful.
Beautiful decor.
Such professionalism.
We got video.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So...
We're leveling up in 2020.
Whenever you in New York, you want to come out to Trinity Media.
Yes.
I'll put the link inside the bio and all that other good stuff. So
definitely.
But yeah, we can go into the episode. How are you doing before we...
I'm pretty good. I'm not, obviously, I don't sound as sick as I did last week, so that's also good. And I'm just, anxious and ready for, again, like we've been talking about, these new things that are coming up. By the time this episode drops, we will have the keys to our new house.
Yes.
That's insane.
It's very insane.
But how are you, my good sir?
I'm living life. Just trying to be great. That's it.
Mm-hmm. You over here, TJ's being very humble because he's like the guy at work right now. Everybody's like loving him. Niggas is mailing him cakes and sending him cards.
They did send me cards.
Thanking him for his efforts and everything. And,
it's just, listen,
he's worldwide at this point.
I'm not worldwide. I'm still regular, but we live in life, man. Mm-hmm. Let's get on this elevator.
All right. Am I going or are you going?
I can start it off.
All right. Where are we
I'm going up, love.
Going up.
So, when this episode airs, that will be on the 6th.
Yes.
3 days from our wedding anniversary. So, Dani and I are celebrating 7 years married, March 9th.
It went really fast.
It did. So, I just wanted to, highlight that.
So
7 years.
Happy early anniversary.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, baby.
Are we doing anything for our anniversary?
I really don't know. What day is that?
It's on a Monday.
Probably not. We'll go be at work. We could do something else that after you come back from like your work trip.
We gotta go celebrate or something.
We can go to dinner or something. I don't know.
See, you trying to...
You're the one that listen.
You're supposed to keep the spark in the relationship, bro.
You're gonna be out of town, and then we're moving.
I'll be back on that Monday.
And we're moving.
On that Sunday.
Okay, so what exactly do you want to do?
What did you have planned?
Nothing.
Yo, we're turning this elevator up. We're going down. It's a negative.
Listen.
My wife had nothing planned.
What did you have planned?
I planned last year, and the year before that, and the year before that. I planned all the other joints.
What did we do?
I planned our whole wedding.
What? That's a fucking lie.
I planned our whole wedding.
You're a lie.
Then year one, our first anniversary, you got that. I'll give you that one.
And you a black ass lie that you planned our wedding.
I definitely what?
You planned the wedding by yourself.
I didn't say I did. I let us start planning the wedding. How much?
Beg to differ.
What example? I mean, listen.
I beg to differ.
Anyway, let's...
Happy early anniversary. We'll figure out something. We'll report back to y'all about what
we
did
don't celebrate,
for
it
our
didn't
anniversary.
happen, so...
Anyway, we'll report back to you on what we come up with.
That's the energy I'm on. If we don't celebrate, did it really happen?
Be the change that you want to see in the world. So, you want something for the anniversary, you make it happen.
All right.
And then I'll work on something on mine, too.
I'll make it happen. Mm-hmm. With my next one.
Okay. So, are you getting off?
I'm off.
All right.
I'm off this gimmicky elevator.
Well, I'm going to turn things back around, and we're going back up.
Go ahead.
And you were part of my going up.
Okay.
I should rescind what I was going to say.
No, it's already there.
So, we've talked on this episode. We talked on the show plenty of times about love languages and everything like that. And my number one love language is acts of service. Help me, nigga. Help me out. Make me do things to lighten the load, because that is how I feel most loved. And what I was saying is that lately TJ has definitely been very. I've noticed that he's been very like on it with acts of service and helping me out, and doing for me from like.
Tell me about it.
Like when the other night we were at the third birthday party for our friend Booney from the Booney Breakdown podcast, her shindig, and when we were leaving, my car was on E. You hit TJ's car was not, so and it was late, so he was like, "Give me your keys, I'll go get gas, and then you take my car home." So like I had to just like little stuff like that makes my life a lot easier, and then I really like truly do appreciate those types of stuff, and he's been doing that like a little bit more consistently lately. So I've noticed, and I wanted to shout that out.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And then
I needed that example.
Huh?
I said I just need to make sure that the example is on the track, so that way.
Was it? Did it suffice?
Yeah, no.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing I was going to say was going up which is I guess a little pop culture related, is I saw this clip on I guess it was the Shade Room, and I think Waka Flocka was on Everyday People. I don't know what the hell it's called. Is it called Everyday People?
Everyday struggle.
Everyday struggle. Okay, whatever. So basically, he was on there, and he like acknowledged that he himself acknowledged that he was not the greatest rapper, but that it was kind of like a means to an end. Like he was like, I wanted, I rapped. He was like, I listened to Nas and KRS-One. He was like, I know I'm not as good as them. He was like, I'm a whack rapper. He was like, but by like 2013, he was a millionaire, multimillionaire at that point, and then he was like, I want to do business. I figure out how to make this money work for me in other ways. And what I would say is that I applaud his transparency about his goal and what he's done with himself since he really first came on the scene as a rapper, and acknowledging that he's not necessarily like lyrically the best or telling a story the best storyteller or anything like that, but that that he took that as a sign and took it as a career shift. So I don't think we have a lot of people who are as that transparent.
I like the transparency, but I don't agree with it. I don't think it, in the context, if he's comparing himself to KRS-One and Nas, then yes, he's not a good rapper. But he's made music that's been good.
I mean, anyone can make a bop. Anyone can make a hit, but it's just about whether or not
you're right. Anybody can, but not anybody can make consistent hits. Waka has a lot of hits. I just don't
define a lot.
He has more than 2.
Okay.
Does he not?
I'm sure he does.
He may have like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Of just like hit songs
or features.
Or features.
Okay.
I mean,
that I'll give you.
We have artists who tour off of their mixtapes. Like Drake was touring off of his mixtape.
Got it.
He wasn't touring off of his hit songs.
Got it.
So,
well,
I like the transparency of saying that I'm not the best, but I don't think he should downplay it in the sense that, like, if you, again, in the context of if he's comparing himself to the greats, no, he's not one of the great rappers. But does he make good music? There's probably other people out there who look up to him and think that he is lyrical, or think that his lyricism works for them.
Well, I appreciate.
So I wouldn't downplay that. I do like the transparency.
I appreciate his transparency and his humility, and I feel like hip hop could use that from time to time, because I know it's a lot of bravado and bragging and cockiness. But I just think that sometimes it's cool. It's okay to be like, you know what, like, maybe he wasn't like he I think he said it. He was like, I love rap, but I'm not the best rapper. So, like I said, it was like a means to an end. Like it was his way of becoming wealthy, and now he's taking that wealth and flipping it and doing other things that will keep him around or keep him financially successful for the long run. But that's it. So
Gotcha.
Shout out to Waka and shout out to you, I guess.
You guess?
I guess.
Put some respect in my name, bro.
Nope. And now it is time for the relationship tip of the week.
So my tip of the week is, even if your partner's hating on you, you just got to keep it moving. Like, you know what I mean? This is going to be an easy one, Even when your partner hates on you, you still smile through it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to smile through it. But my tip is going to be celebrate your friend's partner's success. My wife got a new job, so I'm celebrating. I'm happy for her. My friend, one of my best friends, got a raise. I'm happy for him. Another one of my friends got they're looking at like changing to a new job. So, celebrate your friend's success, your loved one's success. It should never be like a envy thing or a jealousy thing, in my opinion. I feel like you should be proud when your friends or your circle is winning.
Definitely. I can agree with that. And my relationship tip of the week is in relationships, and I think this applies to all relationships, not just romantic ones. Sometimes you must ask for forgiveness and not permission. I was in just kind of mulling over the last week or so of conversations I've had with friends, with family. They were instances, or there was kind of a common thread between some of these conversations about people giving permission to their partner to do something, or people having to seek permission from their partner to do something, or spend something or whatever. And while I fully agree that if you're in a relationship, especially a romantic partnership, and you're long term and you share bills and things like that, you're gonna have those conversations. You're gonna have to communicate to about certain things, especially if decisions you make might impact the other person. But also that every decision you make, or every, if things that you want to do aren't necessarily the preference of the other person, that you don't have to necessarily, or they may not like it, quite honestly, but that if it's really important to you, if it really matters to you, or anything in between, that sometimes you still got to just go and do it, and you'll just ask for forgiveness instead of permission. You have to come back around and be yes, I know you maybe wouldn't have liked this, or you don't necessarily approve of this, within reason, of course, but I'm going to, this mattered to me, so I went ahead and did it, because I think ultimately,
what? Give me an example. What's something that you've asked for? Forgiveness and not permission.
I guess maybe an example. I can't think of one with you and I right now, but I guess an example might be if you wanted to. I won't even say change careers, but let's say you wanted to apply for a particular type of job, right? Mm-hmm. And you think it's going to be a great fit. You just feel all the stars are aligning for this to work, right? And your partner is skeptical, hesitant, because it's but you're doing okay where you are. You're getting by where you are. You're decent, and they're gonna giving you a hard time. I don't think you should do it or whatever. But if you don't go out for the job, then you might have resentment built because you didn't at least attempt it, right? So that's an instance where I would say that person could maybe just still go apply for the job, and they'll come back and tell their partner if they got an interview, and then just have to ask for forgiveness, not permission, because ultimately.
I understand the example. That would be a trash ass partner unless it was a major pay cut or something. But even then, I'm a big believer that your partner or your friends need to be happy.
But that's what I'm saying.
So if they're not happy, then it can affect your relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's my point though. It's you have to, in certain situations, if there's really no common ground or whatever, that sometimes you just got to still go out there and do that. I think that it's not trying to be disrespectful, and ultimately, any relationship, you're not going to be on the same page about everything all the time. You just, you want to make sure that you're not trying to violate, or be disrespectful to your union, but at the same time, you got to still do things that are best for you in order to be the best version of yourself for your partner. But that is my tip of the week.
That works. So before I go into my word of the week, me and Dani have decided that we're going to carry on the Black History
factoid.
So
Black History 365.
Yeah. So my Black History for this episode is going to be Virginia State Union was founded on March 6th. Sorry, what did I say?
Virginia State Union.
Sorry, Virginia State University, VSU, was founded March 6, 1882. So, shout out to that HBCU. Shout out to HBCUs out there, too.
Okay.
What was that? Hold on. And we have the camera, so what was that?
Because you did attend an HBCU for 1 year, so I'll give you that.
Even if I didn't, why can't I say shout out to the HBCUs?
Because to me, it felt like you were shouting them out like you're a product of HBCUs, but you're like sort of not. Like
I mean, I did a year.
I love everything HBCU stand for, even though I didn't go to one. But like
I did a year in HBCU. I've lived both. You know what I mean?
Oh, you've lived both lives.
I've lived both lives. You can't say that.
I don't say that.
I mean, but you can't.
And I don't.
Yeah, you can't speak about it. So.
And I don't.
We were just talking about that earlier. You can't talk about something you've never experienced, right?
And I don't.
But you just made a face because I bigged up.
Just okay.
Did I not just go to Coppin State University's homecoming because I used to go there?
You sure did, baby.
And they was just like, "Oh, TJ, you're back. What's going on, y'all?
Guy? Where's the rest of you?"
I did get a lot of that.
That's because you also had on your fancy schmancy pink plaid kiss shirt.
That has nothing to do with anything.
They were like, "What is this, velvet?" They were like,
"You trying to take shots over here?"
No,
you trying to take shots over here.
You told me to touch the material several times. You were like, "This is the quality. Feel the quality, Dani."
Don't touch me, God damn it!
All right, well, listen. My Black History fact for this episode is on March 6th, 1857, the United States Supreme Court finally ruled in the Dred Scott versus Sanford case, which most of us in American history have heard about the Dred Scott case. Mm-hmm. But the majority of the justices said that Scott and all slaves and free blacks were not citizens of the United States and therefore had no standing in the courts. The case itself led to the nullification of the Missouri Compromise of 1820, allowing the expansion of slavery into formerly free territories, and the legal principle that African Americans, slave or free, were not citizens of the United States. The backlash to that decision strengthened the abolitionist movement and further divided the North and South, contributing to the U.S. Civil War 4 years later.
Oh.
So that's a history lesson for that ass.
Okay. So basically, with that decision, it made it that slaves didn't have a.
So they didn't recognize. Black people as U.S. citizens, enslaved or free, and so because it kind of canceled out the Missouri Compromise, which was like a division of like you have equal amounts of free states and slave states.
Yeah.
It like pushed the civil war.
That's so crazy when you think about it. Like. They had to vote on that. Like, we have black people, we have all these people, but black people, y'all don't even matter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, think about 3/5, everything like that.
No, I get that. No, I'm just saying it just makes you, remember how fucked up the world truly is, and it just makes you remember when people be like, "Well, slavery's over," and all this other stuff. It's like racism is dead. Nah, that shit is still there. That shit has been there for years.
Listen, I know there's some people walking around today in MAGA hats that would feel like if they could put us back in bondage, they would. But we're going to go ahead and move right along to...
My word of the week?
Yes.
Let me see if I can...
I'm sorry. Since last week's episode dropped, I just want the record to show that TJ has not yet paid me my $40. He owes me money.
I do owe her $40, but as long as I owe you, you won't go broke.
No. So if you don't... Let's say this. If you don't pay me by the time this episode drops, you owe me like...
Nah.
I'm charging interest.
No, we never talked about it like that.
We did not talk about it.
Well, we never talked about it.
We did not talk about it.
All right, then. Well, we can talk about it now.
Run me my money.
I'll think about it. The fuck?
I mean, I know you keep your cash. It's fine.
Okay.
So.
If you steal from me, I'll steal from you.
What's the word of the week?
Let me see if I can stomp Dani.
Stump?
Stump.
Not stomp.
I wish I could stomp your ass. The word of the week is... Hopefully I pronounce it right.
I hope so too.
Logorrhea. Logorrhea.
Just have the white lady say it.
I should have had it pulled up already, right?
Yeah, you should have.
All right, here it
Prior
goes.
proper planning. That's what you talked about
You're
last
right.
episode.
My fault.
Logorrhea.
Logorrhea.
You fucking suck, yo.
I was trying to pronounce it. Logorrhea. Logorrhea, excessive and often incoherent talkativeness or wordiness. Sean's logorrhea can be off-putting to those who spend a lot of time with him. We often end up tuning him out. Logorrhea.
Logorrhea. I probably will get stumped on this one. I'm not sure about this one.
I love how you try to preface when you know that you don't know something.
When I know...
I mean, if you know it, you know it. If you don't, you don't. You don't got to preface to let us know.
Listen... This
Go
is
ahead.
my process
You're
of
right.
working through how to spell a word.
You're right.
Mind your business.
Go ahead. Logorrhea.
Logorrhea.
Go ahead.
Logorrhea.
Break it down. I love to see that process. So there it goes. She whispered it. She didn't want you to hear it, y'all.
Shut up.
Wrong.
I do feel like I'm gonna get this wrong because I'm trying to figure out if it's L-O or L-A. Can you play the white lady one more time?
Amanda, can you voice that again? Hold on.
Logorrhea.
Thank you, Amanda.
I'm just gonna spell it like how it sounds because I know I'm not gonna get this right.
All right,
Logera.
She didn't even try.
Yeah.
You were wrong.
I knew that. So how is it spelled?
Logorrhea.
I thought there might be an H in there, but
Well, you gave up, so it doesn't matter.
I didn't give up. I just knew I was gonna miss a letter.
She lost.
Yes, but you still owe me $40 from last week.
All right, well.
So.
You owe me your life, but I will make sure to give you fucking $40. I'm gonna get you $40 in pennies.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna go to the bank and be like, I need $40 in pennies. Make it happen. And I'm gonna just drop them bitches.
Still can't cash app me though, right?
Huh?
You still can't cash app me.
I can cash app you, but I'd rather be a nuisance. Actually, I'll cash app you $1 a day.
$1 over 40 days?
Over 40. Actually, I'm gonna send you a penny a day. I'm gonna see if I can send a penny. If I can send you a penny, I'm gonna send you a penny a day.
I'm gonna send this shit right back. All right. Well, listen, folks, we're gonna go ahead and take a little break. Be right back.
Hey friend, it's time for you to ditch those workout gloves and get the grip and wrist support you deserve. What do you suggest? You need to get the Gaines Load and Lock grips by Gaines Sports Gear. They are more durable than gloves, have a non-slip grip pad that provides grip support and added wrist support unlike your traditional workout gloves, and will protect your hands from calluses. Do they come in different colors? Not only do they come in different colors, but they are available for men and women. Do yourself a favor, go to GainesSportsGear.com. And remember, a better grip equals a better lift. Embrace the process.
And now we're back.
And we have a very, very special guest with us
Yes,
this
we
episode.
do.
And we have the lovely, beautiful Uchechi Chinyere of the Grapevine TV, of Run the Tape podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to our little show that could. It's really quite an honor to have you on.
No, thank you so much for having me.
And as always, you know that when we have guests on, our goal, our purpose is to provide the perspective of someone else because of what they do for a living, how they grew up, anything in between, because as much as TJ and I love to have our 2 cents about everything, we still have a limited scope of like what relationships are because of our, only being with each other for 16 years and that's it.
That's a long time. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
congratulations.
So I was just saying to him, like, so we were talking to her and about how we're about to have like 7 years married and 16 years together. And it really did go by pretty fast, but
that's even better.
Yeah.
The fact that, because it would suck if 16 years dragged.
Yes, this is true.
Agreed.
Very true. So just kind of to jump in and kind of help us understand you, Uchechi, and our listeners to understand. In doing our research, we know that you are Nigerian, and that also comes with its own upbringing, cultural background, and that all of everything that happens to us as kids influences us as adults.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
So in growing up in that household and culture, but then also simultaneously living and growing up in Newark,
absolutely.
What was that like, having to kind of like exist in these like two, sometimes maybe like contrasting cultures?
Right. Definitely. One thing I always say is that I didn't realize how many people. So I've always relied on my mother. Both my parents. My parents have been married for. I'm 30. I'm 31. So that would be. They're going to be 34 years this year.
Wow.
Congrats to them.
Yeah.
Kudos, tip my hat.
So y'all halfway there.
Right? I guess so.
So, but yeah. So they've I remember when they would have when they had their issues when I was younger, but then they've learned to really work seamlessly as a team. Mm-hmm. And my father was always involved in my, and even that is kind of different for the Nigerian community because mothers are usually super involved with their kids, raising them. My father was the one more involved with schooling and things of that nature. So it would you know, when I would go to school, they'd be like, you know, have your mom sign this or have your moms do this. And I'm like, my mom's not going to sign this. It's my father. Like, and so that was one thing that I think like really stood out to me as a kid growing up. You know, my parents were really strict. So I wasn't allowed to date up until college. So I had like little boyfriends.
Not unheard of, though.
Yeah, but you know what's funny is that like I had like little boyfriends and stuff like that, but I couldn't go out with them unless I snuck out the house or like. And then I remember in college, my freshman year of college, my mom calls me. I think it might have been like, so school started in August, September, October. My mom calls me and it's just like, oh, you know, I just want to know, do you have any friends? And I'm like, yeah, friends. Like, you know, of course. And then she's like, no, like special friends. And I'm like, I guess I have close friends. And she's like, no, I'm talking about guys. And I was like, yeah, I have friends like guys. And she's just like, no, I mean like, you know, a friend. I'm like, what is she getting at?
What are you saying?
And basically she was trying to ask if I had like a guy that I was talking to, you know, or I had a boyfriend or whatever. And I was just like, you know, I was like, I spent my whole life being told I couldn't talk to guys, and now I'm expected to like find a way to talk to men. It's like, that's impossible. Like, how does that work? And that's something I definitely realized in college, that I like, you know, I'm very ill prepared for dealing with the opposite sex in that and like romantic settings.
Capacity.
Yeah. Because I didn't engage. I wasn't allowed to engage with them like that, you know, coming up. You know, of course you hang out with them, and like I said, you know, you always have your little boyfriends, but then when it comes into serious relationships, I was like, oh, I don't really have that bandwidth that I, you know, of course, you know, I know who I am, you know, I know what I like and stuff like that, but you realize there's like a lack of bandwidth because you haven't had the experience of being around, you know, this gender. And I realized that in college. I mean, you eventually catch on pretty quickly, but like, you know, when my mom asked me that question, I think I really realized like, oh, you guys have not prepared me at all.
Yeah, and it's like you go from one thing, it's like boys are completely off limits to like, when are you getting married?
Exactly.
And you're like, where was the in between?
It went just like that. It went from like, oh, never talk to boys. They're bad. They're gonna make you pregnant, and we don't, you know, teen pregnancy is terrible, to like college. It's like, so when
are you looking for a husband? Or?
I'm like, and then, you know, of course, there's like the cultural thing of like, oh, because, you know, along with that conversation, I told my mom, I was like, oh, she's like, well, where are they from? And I was like, oh, I have friends who are American, Nigerian. I have friends from like who are white, and mom was like, no, I want you to have friends only who are Nigerian, who are Igbo. And I was just like, friend, and you know, at this time still like, to me, a friend is like a platonic friend, like it's a platonic relationship, and she's talking about like in a romantic sense, and I was just like, you know, and we were not on the same page in that conversation. But as I got older, I realized how like big that was for my parents, especially since I'm the oldest child. And they were very, very like, you know, set on me ending up with a Nigerian, and forgetting that I grew up in Newark, forgetting that like there's a particular type of person I grew up with. And, you know, a lot of psychologists tell you that the people that you marry are the people that you essentially grow up with, even whether it's like that, you know, that group of people that you grew up with, or people similar to people that you grew up with. That's who you end up partnering with later on in life. And my parents did not really have us around like outside of church and stuff like that. My parents are very religious. Didn't really have us like around a lot of Nigerians, and the ones that we were around, we all called them, you know, cousins and stuff like that. So, you know,
just like eliminated the romantic possibility. Yeah.
So I have like so many cousins, and they're telling us like, you guys aren't cousins. I'm like, well, it's too late now. Like I was like, we are chosen cousins now, and that's never going to change.
Exactly. So that means it's not going to happen.
Yeah. So that's that on that.
Listening to you were on another show, and one thing that you had touched on was like your parents were like, your mom was like, I'm not coming with you unless I'm married, and your dad was like, bet, let's get married. And so as far as that, like, it seemed kind of like a whirlwind romance type of thing. Because of that, do you believe in like the potential for like finding someone? And I'm thinking too, like with Love Is Blind being out, and you know, and like I even have my godfather, his wife. They've been married for like, I guess, almost 30 years, and they met married after like a month of being together. And she was in the process of adopting because she was like, I'm single, I want to be a mom. And they met, and so like he ended up becoming like an instant like husband and dad because he also adopted my cousin.
Right.
And so like saying that to say like we see examples or we might know examples of like this like instant almost like love and last going the distance. So is that something that you believe in even for like in this day and age or for yourself or anything?
So I actually do think it's possible.
Okay.
When I watched Love is Blind and Married at First Sight, I always realized that one of the reasons that a lot of the relationships don't work is because people aren't honest with what they want. When you are upfront with that, a lot of times, because people always say, like, you're never going to know your partner completely. So the process, the question is, like, do you want to learn a little bit now or do you want to learn all of it later? And a lot of people would prefer to learn little by little so that they're not like, bombarded. And that's what happens when you meet and marry somebody very quickly. You're bombarded with who they are. And that can be overwhelming. But I realized that a lot of people are not honest and that they realize that love is an inherent thing. It's like this emotion that is going to carry you throughout the relationship. So when you no longer feel that the relationship is over, and I was like, that's not how that works. It's an action. When you no longer want to choose to love somebody, that's when.
Sorry.
That's when I think the relationship is over, when you decide that this person is not worth choosing to love daily. And so when I watch these shows, I realize that the people who fail, the people who kind of like have those type of mindsets, but the people who are able to survive it are the ones who are like willing to like really put in the groundwork, notwithstanding, other things that could possibly be an issue. But like, if they are because the whole point is that they're matched. Love is Blind is a little different because everybody has like agency, but with Married at First Sight, they're all matched. And it's granted, there's cameras and all that stuff, so it can get very like frustrating and stuff like that. But they are matched based on certain things. So as long as you're honest, this should be able to work. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you make a good point with that because especially with Married at First Sight. So TJ's a big Married at First Sight fan.
I am.
You
hate watching?
I like hate watching because it gives me so much anxiety because I'm like, why do they do this? Like why do people do this?
See, what I hate about it is I hate that it's like y'all know what y'all going into and then y'all act like
brand new.
Yeah, like you knew that you were going in there to marry somebody.
Exactly.
So you should go in there with that mindset. I mean, listen, you can have certain boundaries, of course. Like,
absolutely.
If you don't feel sexually connected to somebody, I wouldn't expect you to have sex with somebody.
Exactly.
But you went into this knowing you were getting married. So your relationship is already a different relationship.
Exactly.
I hate to see it when they be like, I don't know you. Let's start over. So then why get married?
Yeah, that's always
and it's like marriage and like so like I like and think about like knowing somebody, right? So I always like joke about this because I'm like even though TJ and I've been together for so long, I don't think we could have been as successful in our marriage had we not, for example, lived together before we got married. So I know some people are like against cohabitation before marriage. Some more, I guess it's way more common nowadays. But I know that like if I had not like lived with him prior to marrying him, I don't know if we would be coming up on year 7 because there's like you really get to know a person when you have to share space with them on a regular basis. And then it's also too like you talk about like that feeling like love is not just something that's always there. You have to like choose to do it. You have to work at it because it's very easy to become kind of like two ships passing in the night where you're like, especially like as you get older and adulting and then, we have a child together. So you throw a kid in the mix and you're just like, you have all these other hats that you have to wear. And it, you just kind of become like roommates who like occasionally sleep together. And it's like, that is something that you have to kind of make that decision to ask yourself, and sometimes like check in, because I think that was a tip I did one episode, was like sometimes you have to like check in with your partner and be like,
see where they're
see where their head is at, where are we as a couple, where are we as individuals in our lives. And like one thing I always do is like sometimes people always ask the questions like, well, how could you be with somebody for this long, and how is it like you're not bored, or you only been with one person? And what I kind of say is, I ask myself, I'm like, all right, is life better with TJ in it or without him?
Exactly.
And then it's like, and even when I like hate his fucking guts, it's still like,
hate my fucking guts?
Yes, I said what I said.
Okay,
so
you got it.
Even when I hate him, it's like, but my life is overall better with him in it. He makes my life better than without it. And the same applies. I'm
sure the same applies for you.
Tenfold for me.
Tenfold.
Thank you.
I don't ever hate your guts, so.
I mean, listen.
I may dislike
to
you.
Uchechi's point, you got to be honest. Sometimes I hate your stinking guts, but I still love you. But I hate what you've done.
I say that all the time to people. Like, you know, you're going to wake up sometimes and you're going to look at the person like, I fucking cannot stand you. Mm-hmm. Like, I actually do not. I don't want to look at you. Like, I want you out of my sight. And those are the moments that you have to be like, I'm going to step away for today and I'm going to come back tomorrow. That's the choice to continue this tomorrow. But today, I would like you to get out my face.
There's actually, so like in our house, when you come in, there's like this little like mail, like, thing, apparatus, whatever you want to call it. And there's like a little chalkboard so you can write stuff. And the same quote has been there for like at least 3 years now, which is like, I love you more than I did yesterday. And then it was like, parentheses was like, yesterday you got on my nerves. And that's really what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Because like you're like, there's no way you're going to be in like a, any type of meaningful relationship and like somebody, and it doesn't even have to be romantic. It's just going to be friendships, kinships, whatever, where people don't piss you off sometimes or upset you.
It's impossible to like be with somebody because you're not the same person. So they're going to be moments. And then people also, we all change. We all have our moments where we evolve or devolve sometimes in, you know, various ways. And so not everybody's doing it at the same time with you. Not everybody's doing it at the rate like you. So that there's going to be arguments, there's going to be disagreements, there's going to be shouting matches, unfortunately. You know, if you can help it, you know, you will. I know for myself, somebody had asked me, like, you know, because, you know, Twitter is like the cesspool for relationships.
Of course.
And and you know, they were talking about like arguments and stuff like that. And I said that one thing that changed my life was when a friend told me that disagreements are about like, not seeing eye to eye. Arguments are about power. And when you argue, you want to overpower the other person. When you disagree with them, you're actually trying to like, you don't see the eye to eye. So what you're trying to do is like find a common ground.
Yeah.
But when you argue, you're not interested in finding a common ground. You just want to overpower them and win.
Oh,
and
that's a bar.
And it changed my life. Like, every relationship I went in after hearing that, I always ask myself, like, am I just trying to win? Or am I trying to see, are we trying to make it to a common ground?
That makes a lot of sense.
I'm about to use that.
Yeah, that's definitely a bar. I might try to incorporate that into the episode title. And so it's funny, speaking of Twitter, Love is Blind, right? So I saw that you had tweeted, or part of a tweet that had said recently that healthy relationships aren't turbulent whirlwinds. So you were referencing Love is Blind. And I agree. And so I wanted to ask you to like kind of like expound on that. Like, what do you mean by that when you say like healthy relationships aren't these turbulent whirlwinds? So
we're a generation raised by romance and the ideas of passion. We're definitely a Disney era.
Yeah, it says with the Lion King.
With the Lion King sweatshirt.
Sweatshirt, right.
And we have been, a lot of us, and it goes still hand in hand with the idea that love is a feeling as opposed to an action. We just think that there is this like feeling of intensity that comes like when we find somebody that we're meant to be with, and there's just like overwhelming feeling of intensity and passion. And like a lot of us were also raised in really emotionally turbulent households, and we also think that that's love as well because we don't know anything else. And so when we get into relationships, people think that like, fighting and having makeup sex is like the way a relationship is supposed to go. This like mess of like emotions and he makes you crazy, but that's why I love him. And I'm like, you don't have to be crazy in a relationship to be happy and full and still have that passion. And I was like, you can have healthy passion. And that's why I was like, the woman I was referring to, Kelly, she was like, I'm not infatuated. And I was like, you never want to be infatuated with your partner.
And that's fleeting.
It's fleeting.
It's so fleeting. And I think like, to the point of when you talk about like long-term relationships, like it's not always going to be thinking about Love is Blind where like you run to the person every day and you're in their arms and it's like, oh my God. Sometimes like love is like, hey, what's up? Kiss, like, and it's still like there's like it's almost like a simmer, right? So like,
Yeah.
like instead of like the flames being turned up high and it's like smoke and stuff everywhere, sometimes and it can be like that sometimes. Like, there's going to be passion, there's going to be fights and make up sex sometimes, but doesn't have to always be the cycle or the pattern of the relationship. And I think another thing to like, in the way I kind of interpreted what you said too, is I think that there's also, and it kind of touches on like the emotional trauma part, which you think that relationships have to be these like drama filled like circuses, and then like, no, that's not like how it has to work.
But if you grew up seeing that, then
you think that's
the norm.
Yeah.
You think that's normal.
Like
if you see people yelling all the time, you think, to show love, I gotta yell.
Exactly, to show love that you have to yell. I wish I remember the name of the book. There's a book I'm currently reading. I think it's All About Love by Bell Hooks. I think because she has a couple of books on love and relationships. And I know a lot of people don't care for Bell Hooks, but she has some amazing work surrounding love and how we should approach it. And she talks about how a lot of us grew up and but we don't want to admit it because we love our parents, we love our, we love the people around us, but we don't want to admit that we were emotionally abused in some way. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us are, and it's not necessarily it's not the fault of our parents. Our parents do the best that they can.
They were people before they were parents.
Exactly. They do the best they can with what they have. Exactly. And this is how they were raised too. So they're just passing on whatever they know.
Yeah.
And, one thing that she talked about was emotional withholding,
mm-hmm.
How your parents won't talk to you or mm-hmm. and people pass that on with their partners. And so you'll give your partner the silent treatment. You won't explain what's going on to them, or you'll dip and you won't tell them where you're going because you want to punish them for what they did before. Mm-hmm. You want to you withhold sex, and not because you're, there's a physical reason why you don't want to have sex. You just simply, it's a form of punishment. You're withholding all these things because you were taught that this is the way that you handle problems in the relationship. And that's a part of this turbulence that goes on, because it's now everybody's angry,
exactly.
And it's teaching yourself that communication is really important, and you need to say hey, I'm upset because of this, so I need time. I don't want to talk to you because I'm upset. Not I'm gonna ice you out and then hope that you beg to come back in, or I'm going to go out with my friends and now you have to look, because that's something that's happened to me in the past where a guy I was dating just dipped, left, turned off his phone intentionally. We had an argument. He turned off his phone intentionally, went to hang out with his friends. I'm searching for him because I don't know. Because now it's just I forgot about the argument. I just want to make sure that you're safe. Yeah. And then now you come back and it causes an argument and it continues the argument. And now it's a completely different argument.
Because it's escalated and now it's
completely different. And now on top of that, it's there is now this power struggle because now I feel I'm out of control because you have me in this position where I want to make sure that you're safe. I forget about whatever happened. I'm just I just want to make sure that everything is okay. Now I'm insecure in my position in the relationship. So it becomes, and all of that is not healthy.
It's draining.
And it's extremely draining. And that's not a relationship that anybody should aspire to be in.
I definitely agree with that. And I think when you talk about the part about with your parents and stuff, so my parents were married for almost 20 years before they got separated and then divorced. And so I was just telling TJ about when I went to therapy yesterday, and I was having a conversation about stuff going on at work with some people I work with, and she was kind of getting to and I made a joke about how I kind of had the same conversation I've been having with some colleagues of mine, I had with my parents, where I was when I was getting ready to leave for college, and I had to be so who y'all finna talk to? Because y'all don't talk to each other. Y'all talk to me.
Yeah.
My sister had been out the house, and then I'm getting ready to leave for college, and it was one of those things where my dad where I'd come in and I'd talk to TJ about his day. That's how my dad would come in. We would talk about our day. My mom and I would talk about our day. And they wouldn't talk. Mm-hmm. And, if it didn't have to do with my sister and I or, household responsibilities, the conversation wasn't there. So I had this, anxiety when I was leaving for college about, how are you going to make it without a conversation, somebody to talk to? And, they ultimately, separated my sophomore year of college and then subsequently got divorced. And my therapist was kind of saying, you got to, ask yourself or revisit, why do you feel you have to, keep it together or play peacemaker or diplomat all the time. She was that probably has stuff to do with your upbringing.
Yeah.
And and exposure to that. And again, and I think it's an interesting point of how parents, I think I was maybe like 12 or 13 when I had that like aha moment, like, oh, my parents are just people that don't know what the fuck is going on sometimes too. And I just remember like that flip of the switch and like kind of having that appreciation of like, okay, they were amazing parents. Like where one lacked, the other one like picked up the slack. So we were straight at that. They just weren't good together as husband and wife too. And I feel like that's such an important differentiation that needs to happen, because like a lot of people stay for the kids or whatever, and it's like you can't do that either because you don't know what you're impressing upon your children that that they're going to carry with them.
I think that's a tough one though, because I also feel like as had a divorce, how would that have changed you? You know what I mean? Like
when I was younger?
Yeah.
I mean, it might have. I mean, I literally was like, I wasn't surprised in the least when they did it. I was more surprised because I thought they were just going to kind of be miserable ever after kind of thing. I was just like, like they just kind of exist together.
I get that, but I'm just saying, I think from a parent aspect, sometimes we will make those sacrifices, even though it may not be the healthiest thing, but we're thinking about that child.
Yeah, but I think ultimately, and Uchechi, I'd love to hear your point too. Of if you want your child or children to see a healthy relationship, if you guys aren't exhibiting the examples of a healthy relationship, you're actually doing a disservice to your kids.
I mean, we know that now.
Yeah.
But similar to what Uchechi said earlier, our parents only knew what they knew.
Yeah.
So they came from an era where people stayed together forever, regardless.
Grandpa got a whole other family down the street.
And grandma stayed.
And stays.
And that was the norm. We are lucky enough that we know better. And now, if it was us and we just couldn't work, we would separate and just be the best co-parents that we can be. But that, I feel like that comes through with like evolution in time. Like,
Shout out to us millennials breaking generational curses.
Sometimes creating more other ones, because one thing I've realized with like and I've said this to many of my friends, particularly who are fathers, a lot of men are so focused on being better fathers than their fathers, they forget that their fathers weren't good partners either. So that gets lost in the mix. So even if they aren't with the mother of their child, they tend to not be good partners in general. So they're a great parent, not a good partner. And they think that, and in our society, we kind of think that we parcel out, how we treat people based on like how close they are to us. So, I mean, like now, even like, we always talk about like how like men are like, again, Twitter talks about like how men are really poor at friends and benefits relationships, and a lot of men are like, why I gotta treat you good because I'm fucking you? And I'm like, because you're a fucking human being.
Because the first word in it is friend. Be a friend.
Exactly. And it's just like, you can still treat people with human decency. You can still treat them. You can still ask somebody like how their day is. The point is to ensure and to communicate that this is, just this is a particular type of arrangement. You can still be a kind person to that person. And that goes the same for like co-parenting and stuff like that. And I think that's kind of get lost as we talk about co-parenting these days, like treating the other person as like, still a human being, still making sure that realizing that like, as long as the other parent of your child is good, then your child will be good. But if only you're good, but the other child is, the other parent isn't good, it doesn't really make a difference. You're still doing the same harm that you were trying to avoid, with your child, that your parents did to you.
I think realizing is the most important thing. And I don't think that we realize that sometimes. Like, just speaking from like that friends with benefits, I think they're like, this is only supposed to be sex. I don't have to be nice. Because if I'm too nice, then you're going to think this is a relationship. But
it shouldn't. That's the thing. The conversation, like, that shouldn't be.
No, you're right.
Yeah, and I'm like,
there should be some like transparency, like whatever our arrangement is. I feel like that's when like expectations should be set. Like, okay, we're gonna have sex, but I still expect you to treat me a certain way.
Yeah, because you should be like, nobody's saying that y'all should be like on the phone for like hours, like, you know, but the reason that you guys are friends with benefits is because you probably like each other as human beings. So like, you know, that shouldn't shift because, you know,
I agree.
Because sex is now involved, and if there's the assumption that something's going to change because you're being nice, then that you shouldn't be a friend, period. Forget friends with benefits.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
everybody ain't built for that.
yeah, like, and if like, yeah, people should just like, everybody should be honest with themselves and what they are capable of and what they are able to do, and being kind to people regardless of the relationship you have. It's just like simple human decency.
You're right,
like,
but a lot of people don't have human decency,
and it's so sad.
Being nice means nothing. It costs nothing to be nice. It costs
nothing, and people are really we're very stingy with it.
Yeah,
we're very, very we truly parcel out. Like, until you get to this point, and it's just like, it's almost like a video game where it's like, until you get to this level, that's when I can you know,
do something different.
Oh,
you've
you've earned like my full vulnerable self or my kind self. And I mean, I can understand and agree with that, because it's like sometimes people, you know, the perception
you can't just give
weakness, and you don't want to be walked all over or taken advantage
Absolutely.
of. But TJ does always say, like, it costs you nothing to be nice. And I mean, I've prided myself on being somebody who will give the benefit of the doubt, be nice. You know, I have no reason, until you prove to me otherwise, I have no reason to not be nice to
exactly.
you or be kind to you or think the best of you if you have the best intentions. But, you know, it's difficult because there's also people who take advantage, and they want,
Absolutely.
You know, you got to keep your head on a swivel.
Absolutely.
For that type of stuff too. So
it's not to like throw yourself out. I mean, like, but it is to like, you know,
But if you see a homeless person, you can say hi to the homeless person.
Yeah, or like, you know,
just because they're not.
It's like, don't be an asshole. Maybe just that's the thing. Like,
yes, you don't have to be an asshole to somebody because, like, absolutely.
Because they're less than or
whatever. Yeah. No,
because nobody really is, except Donald Trump. But one thing that you're obviously known for is having opinions on lots of things. So pertaining to relationships, I kind of came up. This is a little bit of like a question, like a pick top three maybe of the 5 options, right? So education, family, political views, because those are big these days, religion, and employment. Of those 5 things, what do you think matters most to you as far as like when it comes to like a relationship and going the distance? Like, if as far as like maybe like being on the same page or like having a common ground with a person, because some of these things are like they can cause like drastic like disparities.
Absolutely.
So I'm just wondering. So I'll repeat them to you: education, family, political views, religion, employment.
Excuse me. I think family might be first for me.
Okay.
So in terms of employment, is it?
I think that they're just like they are employed or like that they are, like gainfully employed.
So as long as they is this? It's not about what kind of job they have.
No,
they just have a job.
I think so more like have a job, and I'm leaving it open to interpretation because like with family, it could be how they interact, the relationship they have with their present family, or if they want children. You know what I mean? So it's like however you'd like to interpret it.
Because I definitely am going to. I don't know if I can because it really varies. For religion, as long as we're both Christian or as long as you have some type of moral upstanding. However, if you have a strict religion, like I'm Christian, I'm Catholic, but if you are Muslim, that there's a really hard, it's really hard to be in a relationship with that because Islam kind of requires, it's a lot stricter than Christianity in that regard. And it's like, I don't want to become Muslim. So, that would pose a problem.
What if he didn't care if you became
If he didn't care, that's different. If he wasn't a strict Muslim, same thing with Judaism. I tend to find myself, I've always found it easier to, it's like the Abrahamic religions that are always very difficult to navigate. Everything else has been always like a little easier. But like those 3, even within Christianity, some people are like, well, like, I know my parents were always like, well, you know, your partners have to become Catholic if they're not Catholic. And I'm just like, that's insane.
Yeah.
But
and I think about that too, because part of why I included that in there was because of, like, that was something that wasn't an issue for us because TJ and I are both Catholic. So,
that's great.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, and, like, I like to call myself, like, an a la carte Catholic because I just kind of, like, pick and choose the things I want to, like, adhere to or subscribe to. But at the same time, when we had our daughter, when we got her baptized, it was like, okay, easy peasy, right?
No conversation about it.
No conversation about it, but it could be such a major thing. So that makes sense. So family and, like, religion, depending on how, like, strict they are or how much they adhere to their religion.
And so it's like family, religion. I'm going to throw in political views in there as well.
This is tough.
Yeah, because political views. So there's a couple of different ways that you can go about that. There's the most obvious one, like, you know, being Republican and being Democratic or independent or whatever, libertarian, whatever. Then there's also how you view issues concerning LGBTQIA, how you view issues of race and gender. I have learned personally that it is very difficult to be pro-Black with someone who is still looking for the approval of white people. They may not realize it, but you quickly pick up on it, and they're not. It becomes an issue. It becomes an issue because I think for example, I went somewhere with someone and they were like, oh, like, you know, they were talking about like how the black people that were there were kind of acting out and they were kind of embarrassing them. And I was like, well, other black people don't speak for me. And furthermore, I'm not embarrassed by other black people and what they do. And he was just like, yeah, but they make us look bad. And I was just like, but white people do shit like this all the time. So I don't feel any type of way. And he just couldn't understand it. And and that continued. That type of like mentality continued, and I just couldn't deal with it. So, you know, that's something that I realized really matters, because then it goes into like, well, how do you raise your children? You know, what kind of things are you telling your child about race? Same thing with gender, like how they approach gender. And, you know, I've always said that when you, as a woman, as a straight cis woman, when you are dealing with men, you're going to have to do a lot of teaching and, you know, helping to unlearn, because just the way that our society is based. So, you know, you're going to have to teach your partner, okay, like this is what is, you know, what is right concerning gender, and you're going to have to deal with a lot of pushback. But it's how much pushback are you willing to deal with? Right. There's a lot of niggas out there who are, you know, who would do very well in the 50s. We are not there. So things like that. So decade. Yeah, they're in a completely different decade. There's a lot of dudes who are still, you know, who thrive on double standards, and, you know, so things like that. I put that all under political views, and that I've seen destroy many a relationship. So, and
when I think about it too, I think I probably would be. Definitely political views would be something for me as well, because I know to that point, like, even though, again, we've done a lot of growing up together, literally and figuratively, being since we were 16, 17 years old, but that growth that you can kind of see in a person and within yourself was like another reason why I knew we could like stay around each other. And there's actually one very like particular conversation one time that I think maybe we were like 18, 19 years old, and we were with one of his cousins, and there was a conversation about when the time came for us to be parents and if one of our children were gay. And, you know, TJ kind of had the statement of like, well, I don't really care if my kid is gay, like, or whatever. He was like, I just want to be able to, like, usually I just want to be able to, like, make jokes or whatever, like, but, like, just, like, or, like, keep it light or whatnot. Yeah. He was like, I wouldn't give a shit if my kid was gay or bi or whatever.
As long as you're healthy.
And so...
There's a lot worse things you can be than gay.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in the frame of, like, this is, like, an 18, 19-year-old, you know, level of thinking and conversation, but it let me know that, like, oh, all right, I can keep fooling with him, because I'm like, at its core, what he's saying is that like he has no issue with it. He would not treat his child differently. He would, if our future children were to be anything other than like straight cisgendered people, right? And so that was like a cue
That's your
to
child.
me.
Like it's,
The love is unconditional. A lot of people don't. A lot of people's love is very conditional, and they think that their love is unconditional. But a lot of people, and that's important. That's important. Like when people are like very, because I'm like, you're not going to treat your child too, right?
I do feel like once people have children, a lot of them change. A lot of them don't, but a lot of them do. But yeah, I mean, being a father, it shocks me to know that there's so many people who don't take care of their kids. Yeah. And it's just like, how could you not take care
of your
something
child
that you've created?
Yeah.
Regardless, like, baby mother, baby father, whatever. I get it. You don't want to deal with them, but that has nothing to do with that child. And I think that's
they didn't
the
ask
bigger
to come
picture.
to they did not ask to come to this world. So
you could have easily put on a condom.
Or I'm a very big believer in Plan A. You could have gone to that clinic and
pro-choice, you choose.
Yeah, you could have taken care of that real quick.
You go to the get Plan B.
Yeah, yes. The next day we could have everything could have been handled. There's many ways to like.
So once you make that responsibility to have a child, it's your responsibility to be there for the child, regardless of how you feel or what's going on personally.
Absolutely. So. No, I completely agree with that.
Okay. And we're going to ask a few more questions before we get ready to kind of wrap these things up.
Sure.
And so obviously you've been in relationships before. You've dated before.
Something like that, sure.
Like that, right? We've all been there. We've also got some experience in love and romance, whatever, to varying degrees. So we always talk about like kind of like non-negotiables where we have, and so like my non-negotiables
is cheater beat.
Cheater beat, right?
I can't cheat on her. I can't beat on her. I don't have any.
Well,
non-negotiables.
I do. So what, if any, non-negotiables would you have as far as like either like, and not just about like what would you would like just say no to something to, but like also like what would you not like accept in a relationship as far as like treatment or certain things. So like, again, I always say cheater beat because that's, we weather a lot of storms, but those are like, to me, like the things where I'm like, okay, that would be where I would have to draw a line. Mm-hmm. So do you have any of those?
Definitely can't beat on me because we're both going to jail that night. Like, there's absolutely like definitely beating me is not an option.
Exactly.
Please, everybody should keep their hands to themselves.
Agreed.
Nah, I wouldn't hit him. He better not hit me. Like if we decide to be in a monogamous relationship, I am not accepting cheating.
Okay.
If we agree to a non-monogamous one, that's a different story.
Yeah.
I mean, but then like, and also within that, like, there's boundaries within non-monogamy.
Of course.
So if those are crossed in any way, I wouldn't be. That's a non-negotiable. Whatever boundary that's created for the relationship is a non-negotiable, and cheating is a boundary that shouldn't be crossed in a monogamous relationship. Any form of abuse, not even just like physical, like any type of emotional manipulation. If I'm hip to it, that can't continue.
Got it. I think gaslighting is a big thing.
Yeah, and I understand that there's people that don't realize that they gaslight.
I don't be gaslighting.
It's actually okay. So what's crazy is that like gaslighting is like it's almost like men are raised to like be gaslighters. Like y'all, it's like in your arsenal of things. Like that's how you handle particularly women. It's just to tell you that like that's just this so how.
Let's define gaslighting.
It's like when you try to like make someone feel like their thought, like when you try to like make me say and do things to make me like question my sanity, like, or, like question the validity of what I'm saying.
What?
Oh my gosh, it's happened plenty of times. But
I just want an example so I can say yes, I do that, or no, I don't do that. But I don't think I'm a gaslighter. That's
gaslighting right now because of the fact. No, let me tell you why.
Because to be like, I'm not a gaslighter. Like you're the gaslighter.
Exactly, because it's like when I'm saying that when you gaslight me, and you're like, I need definitive examples and receipts and timestamps and stuff. And when I'm telling you, like,
I'm
even though I
asking
can't,
for examples so that way I can get an idea. I don't think that I'm gaslighting, but I am not going to say that I have never done something. I'm saying that to me, I would feel like if someone's gaslighting, that means that they are purposely trying to get
to
something.
Uchechi's point, it may not be that you're purposely trying to do
Okay.
it, but it's like an arsenal of
Because it's like I really do like men particularly are raised to like when women say things, if they don't agree with it, just disregard it completely. And it's just like, oh, you're saying that I do this to you? I don't do it to you. Like, because in my head, it's what I'm supposed to be doing. So like, tell a woman like, I don't, for example, like she's like, you were talking to that girl over there and I really don't like when you talk to that particular woman. Oh, I wasn't even talking to her like that. Like you always in your head about it. It's because you have a problem. It's because you're insecure. You're the one with the issue. I wasn't even talking to her like that. I just asked her the time. And it's like, I just told you that I just don't like you talking to her, period. Like it's all of this other, and now I feel crazy because, so,
All right. So then I may be guilty.
Thank you. It only took 16 years. But this episode is down my favorite now because I've gotten you that clarity on
But I'm super transparent. So
you are.
If I'm wrong, I'm going to say I'm wrong. So
right.
I may have used those terms, but I don't feel like I don't personally I'm not saying in my head, how can I fuck with Dani or how can I make her feel crazy? I'm really like, yo, you interpret this wrong. Like this. So for me, I don't feel like
it's all in my head. That's kind of like gaslighting. Or even when I'm telling you that you're trying to gaslight me and you're like,
but I'm really not trying to.
I know you. When I'm telling you, you're gaslighting me, and I say, and you're like, well, it's almost like when you say, if you can't give me a definitive example with like this scenario and this date and this time and this is what was going on, this is what you had on, TJ, then it's like it didn't happen. And
I'm not saying that it never happened, but I am a big person. Like if I did something, give me that example just so I can correct my wrong.
So
but
how I feel about it is
so I think when it comes to gaslighting particularly, I always say like if somebody is accusing you of gaslighting, I think you should step back and be like, okay, what is going on? Like what are they saying?
Okay.
What are they saying? Why are they saying it? And then why am I responding the way that I'm responding? It's hard to do in the middle of an argument.
Of course.
100%.
But like, you're telling that person to step back and like think about what they're saying because they feel a type of way. Like, and so do the same. Whatever you're asking, do the same thing. And if you feel uncomfortable doing it, imagine what's happening with that person. And that's how I've kind of like, because we all have ability to gaslight. We do it to children. We do it to other people. Definitely. We do it to our friends. But men do have got a master's in that shit. Because like I said, it's almost like it's a part of like, how you deal with other genders. Is how you deal with other people. That's how you kind of like, it's because there's somebody online who said that, I think it was a Feminista Jones, that men don't really, they're seen as a logical gender, but they don't actually go into conversations with logic. They go into it with like, manipulative tactics. And that's how they handle it, because if you can manipulate somebody, you don't really have to argue your point.
True. I think that's a valid point. Thank you for helping us. I
don't think that's all men, but I get it.
Nothing is ever all men.
We don't do superlatives. We don't do all or none. It might be most or some. It's
for the men out
for
there.
the majority. And I mean, like, and I always say that Twitter is a great example of like a lot of these things, because while we say like social media, people always try to make it seem like it's not real, but it's a great representation of how people are thinking and how they move in reality. So
I always say social media is a devil, but I also feel like you get to see how people truly feel and truly think. And the caveat or the opposite for me, at least with that, is like, if a guy says something that's crazy, instead of everybody just attacking him, it should be like, try to understand why he thinks that way. You know what I mean? Like, because we live, all right, you're making a face, but that's why a lot of men probably don't say something or they don't open up, because if they say something that's considered taboo or whatever, people are shooting at them, as opposed to trying to help them understand or learn from what they're saying.
It depends on what it is.
That's where
depends on what it is.
I
mean, listen, we are a product of our environment, and not every man is the same. I feel like I'm a lot different than other men. And that's just because of how I was raised and how I looked at situations. But not everyone's gonna do that. I know a lot of dudes who are still homophobic. They still say pause. I'm not saying that. I'm a grown man. I know what I like. And honestly, I won't say it even more because everyone is telling me I have to say it. So now I may say some off the wall shit just because I want you to tell me I have to say pause.
Well, I understand.
But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of people who don't know, they don't know better. And yes, they may be grown men, but they just don't know better. So you gotta, now it can be very taxing, it can be very frustrating, but there's a lot of men who just don't know no better.
Then I would, and in that regard, I always leave it for other men to teach.
That's fair.
Men, because
that's fair.
I was kind of
because I'm not teaching
fair.
anymore.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
same way how it's not our responsibility to teach
men,
white people how to treat us.
Yeah,
it's not
you
for
leave it
women
to
teach
No,
men
I get that.
how to or treat people other than other men.
we have to be accountable for that.
Just like straight
I
people
agree.
should just straight cis people should teach
Educate
other
themselves.
other people. I would never put I never want to put the onus on somebody who's already burdened with the oppression to continue teaching us, to teach me something that I can learn from, somebody who already knows
Our
better.
good friend Google, right?
A good friend Google, or somebody else who knows better around me. People do get attacked, but it really depends on what they're saying. Also, once again, in this patriarchal system, women are also, flag bearers of that shit. So like they will definitely jump down a man's throat if they feel like they're saying something that's too vulnerable or too emotional. So no, I can agree on that. But as far as like teaching somebody, yeah, I'm gonna leave that to other men to handle their homies.
I think it's definitely a conversation, and no, I do think that men should be able to hold other men accountable. Like if you have a friend that's a woman beater or a deadbeat, like you should be able to pull them up, and it shouldn't
And say something. Yeah.
That shouldn't be cool. There's nothing cool about hanging with somebody who ain't shit.
Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
So
Singing to the rafters. Well, as much as I love this conversation, we're going to have to start to wrap it up. So the last question is for you. And again, looking at one of your written articles, because you're also a writer, woman of many hats, right?
I try.
How do you go about making sure that you embrace an inherent love and not heartbreak in your life?
I do not blame myself for other people's actions. That was something I was doing. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. If I did something, I take accountability, but I'm not going to blame, myself. I'm not going to blame because I look a certain way. I'm not going to say it's because I didn't lose the weight, or I didn't get my hair straightened, or, and I communicate a lot in relationships. Like I don't sit on things. I'm just like, okay, this bothers me. I want to bring it up. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to blame myself if you think that communication is nagging. Mm-hmm. I'm not, things like that. So I no longer blame myself. I am absolutely deserving of love. I'm deserving of a full type of love, of the love I need and require to be in a relationship. And if I'm not offered that, and I've done my best, it's not my fault.
Period. Full stop. Send to the printers. Uchechi, thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
honestly.
Thank you for
Yes,
being here.
this was like a lot of gems, a lot of bars dropped. Thank you. Folks, this now brings us to the end of another episode of Lovers Quarrel.
Yes.
As always, you know that you can find us on Instagram at Lovers Quarrel Show, on Twitter at Lovers Quarrel 7, and you can email us with your questions, concerns, comments, anything in the meantime, in between time, at loversquarrelshow@gmail.com.
And how can they find you?
So they can find me on all social medias at Words by Uchechi. That's Words by Uchechi. You can also find me on Run the Tape, and I have a couple of articles on Medium. On there is Uchechi Chinyere, 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 and you can find me on the Grapevine as well too. So.
Of course. Well, again, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
And as always, I am your girl, Dani.
And I'm your guy, TJ.
And you know that we fuss.
We fight,
but we love.
Bye. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.